I was just thinking the other day, because I mentioned this on one of the programs maybe about 6 months ago, and just briefly. I was talking about the housing situation, briefly. Black people are in a housing crisis. I remember going back 40 years ago, I mean, when the sun went down, most black people had somewhere to go. I call it the shack by the track with the room in the back, because there were a lot of them in those days. Those shacks disappeared years ago. It used to be a lot of little shacks down by the railroad tracks. It was some places where white people didn't even want to be bothered with on account of just that. Trains go up and down tracks, and trains make a lot of noise. Well, black people, back in the old days, they got used to the noise. In fact, they depended on it. They liked that clickety-clack that went by. In fact, looking at the trains go by in the evening was one way that they entertained themselves. They didn't have television or radio, so they'd sit on the porch and watch that 5 o'clock train go by. It's just a dozen yards away. There goes the old Atchison and Topeka, or whatever it is, or the MKT, Missouri, Kansas, Texas. I mean, just watch it go by, with all cars on it. I used to do it. And now those little shacks served a purpose. It meant that if a girl left, the shack by the track with the room in the back and went way up to the big city up north somewhere, and she got pregnant maybe by some fella that made a lot of promises that he couldn't keep, which is the usual thing. And so what she would do, I mean, she got a little job there, but it's not enough to sustain her and whatnot, not her and a child, period. So she would take that child back to Grandma, or Aunt Hattie, who was right down there on that little railroad track. You come on down, honey. Bring the child. I heard you got one. And just bring it down here and leave it, and I'll have it run around here helping me out in the garden and all like that. And you just go on back to your job. Now, that was a salvation.
Yes, sir.
But now you don't have that anymore. All those shacks by the track are gone. So I say that to compensate for that, everybody, if they can, should have a little place in the basement or someplace, in the big cities now, where if you happen to have it, now most people don't have it, you don't have that room, but try to make some room for one extra person who might be falling on hard times that you can get along with. Usually it's going to be some bickering and whatnot, but somebody in the extended family and whatnot who's having a hard time just having a roof over his or her head, have that place set aside in the basement or that little extra room back there, with the bed made up and the blanket on it, and say, well, you can stay here, say, for as long as it takes for you to try to get through and get a job. And so I call it that shack by the track with the room in the back. Right.
Okay.